Welcome Lund loyalists to John Lund Unleashed. Those watching on YouTube, on the John Lund Unleashed and Bay Area Sports Collective channels. Viewers on X, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook, and Lundos listening to the podcast on Apple and Spotify. John Lund Unleashed, brought to you by 𝐟𝐸𝐵L Sports Medicine. Got pain? Check out our revolutionary stem cell treatments. And guys, if low T is bringing you down, 𝐟𝐸𝐵L Sports Medicine can put you back in the game. Now all juiced up and ready to go, here's Johnny.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. What do we got, Thursday? Friday? Yeah, today's Friday. Thanks for joining us. I was confused for a minute. It's great to have you in. John Lund Unleashed on YouTube, both on John Lund Unleashed, the John Lund Unleashed channel. Please make sure you are subscribed. Your alerts are on. I'll tell you why you got to have your alerts on today. In a moment, please give us a thumbs up. We haven't even started the show, but I know you're going to enjoy the show greatly today. So please give us a thumbs up. Helps the algorithm and for people to find us. Bay Area Sports Collective, that's where my show is. John Lund Unleashed. Also the Tom Tolbert Show. Rod Brooks, Quality Hang, and Polymax Particles, Polymac, featuring our good friend Creative Tony. Will be adding more as well, so make sure to just beat the rush. Hit us up on Bay Area Sports Collective on YouTube, as well as John Lund Unleashed. If you're watching this morning on X, good morning to you. Good morning, good morning, good morning. That is at John Lund Radio. I check X all the time. So if you are on X, or if you want to leave comments, that's a great place to leave comments. We're on Instagram as well. Good morning to people watching on Instagram and Twitch and LinkedIn, Facebook, both my personal page, John Lund and John Lund Unleashed. If you give that a follow, whatever's easiest for you, please watch on that platform. Although we'd love to have you come over to YouTube and be part of the chat. We have a lot of fun people. It doesn't matter if your opinion is different. We like that. No problem. It is different in here than most places. We've created a great community, and we'd love it if you came over to John Lund Unleashed and watched and subscribed on YouTube. But whatever platform you're watching, we are grateful for that. Thank you, thank you, thank you for joining us. If you're new around here, the chalkboard tells all. So it is episode 131. As you can see right there, we'll talk a lot of Warriors today and lead with it. They're up 3-2, but I wouldn't call this a must-win, but certainly close. I wouldn't want to go back to Houston, even though the Warriors are that veteran team, and the Rockets would have won 2 straight and had a lot of momentum, and this young team would have gained confidence. We'll get into that. Curry's thumb, that could be the key to the entire series. Who starts? Is it going to be Buddy Hield? If he's not shooting, he's not giving you much. Moses Moody, somebody defensively, GP2 to slow down Fred VanVleet, especially so his confidence doesn't get going early in this game. So we shall discuss that as well. There is a great piece out. Jovan Buha does a great job, and Sam Amick's a part of it as well, our friend, writing about LeBron's future as a Laker. I just can't see it, not with Luka. And the other thing about that people aren't talking about with Luka is he's got one more year left on his deal, and if he doesn't like standing around watching LeBron pound the rock, and then he gets a chance to pound the rock, it's just they've got to acquiesce to Luka Doncic to a certain extent. You make this trade, he's 26 years old, he's the future of your franchise. If he behind the scenes says, look, LeBron and I don't fit, and they don't, then somebody's got to go. The Lakers are going to side with Luka, and I don't know that he's going to say, he's not going to say publicly, I don't fit with LeBron, but he doesn't. It's clear. They got to the 3 seed, but then you saw in the playoffs what Minnesota did. They've got to make major changes on that team, and I don't think LeBron's going to be a Laker, so we'll see. He's got a player option at $52 million, but if the Lakers don't want him, I don't think he wants to be around, and I told you there's 2 choices I see quite easily. Go back to Cleveland if they don't win a championship, and they were just dominant in their first-round series, but if they don't win a championship, Cleveland, here comes LeBron and a white horse to save the day, and then he gets to ride off into the sunset, and of course he wants to have a last year acknowledgement. Kobe Bryant, Dr. J, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, they all had him. LeBron's will be the biggest because that's just LeBron's ego. So I expect him to either make an old man team together, try to make an old man all-star team, or to go to Cleveland if they don't win a championship and try to deliver another one to Cleveland, as they're really, really close right now to a good basketball team. So would LeBron do that? But I don't see him fitting with the Lakers. So we'll get into that in the latest piece that is written about those guys. Great play by Jalen Brunson to end the Detroit Knicks series. Slow down on the greatest Knick of all time, Jay Williams. Jesus Christ. I mean, seriously. It's like, just say the most extreme thing you can. Look, the Knicks aren't the Celtics. The Knicks aren't the Lakers. But the Knicks are a damn good franchise, whether, East Coast bias and all these things. And they've had a lot of good players play for their basketball team. And Jalen Brunson's a really nice player, and Dallas made an incredible error in letting him go. He's not the greatest Knick of all time. Let's slow down, because he wins a first-round series against Detroit. He's a really nice player. Really, 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 really nice. But everything is the latest is the greatest. And these guys, they have no sense of history. Like Jay Williams, you had a cup of coffee in the NBA. You were the second overall pick, and then you got into an accident. And now it's just like everybody on all these channels, the latest, the greatest, he's the greatest, he's the greatest. Like, what, did basketball start in like 1990? Like, my God. But anyway, whatever. It's just one of my peeves that, because ESPN makes you do that. Go say he's the greatest. Just say he's the greatest. So that dumbasses like Lund will talk about you. Other stuff going on today. Tyler Rogers has been so good. And right at the beginning, and I'll do this at roll call because I agree, Tyler Rogers is really, really exceptional. He's a great pitcher, regardless of how he throws. But then when he plays teams that have seen him a lot, they have a bit of an advantage because they've seen the funkiness. And that's, you could say that about the Rockies or the Padres or something. And he's, like I said, he's really good, but he's really good if you haven't seen him. And then he's just good if you have seen him. And they got bit by the Rockies last night. Justin Verlander just can't get a break as far as getting a win with the Giants. He just looks a little bit snake bit. He's been caned a couple of times so far for him, and it's unfortunate. And Tyler Rogers has been so good. And Rogers in the clubhouse afterwards felt really bad for blowing it, but that's just the way it is. The Giants get an A for April from ESPN. George Kittle was never going to get traded for a second-round pick. Everyone's so desperate for 49ers news who does 49ers stuff here on YouTube that it's like they make whole shows around George Kittle, and the Niners turning out our second-round pick for George Kittle. You know how valuable the guy is for this team? Like, a second-round pick for George Kittle? Stop. Like, I don't care if he's 30. He's better than any tight end in the league, and he's not slowing down anytime soon. And it gets reported that that they turned down a second-round pick. It's not a story. They were never going to trade him. Like, it's sorry, I don't mean to be in such a bad mood today. Caboose Pistol will put you in a good mood today. Seagulls, I'll tell you why. And, of course, we know about Seagulls because post-Giants games. But this is, I can't believe people do this, but they do. So I'll do that. Random stuff happens throughout the show, always happens throughout the show. And one reason, and I apologize for being late today, but it's my wife's birthday. It's Lainey's birthday today. And so one of the things, and I tell you this, as we'll just start random and then we'll do roll call, is that drives me crazy is that she'll once in a while, just if she really feels it. We have a great coffee maker and espresso maker, and I make her these fancy coffees. I just drink coffee, but she likes a certain way and a certain amount of sweeteners and all this different kind of stuff. It's quite the concoction and takes time. But when she just really wants to give herself a treat every once in a while, she doesn't do it often. She'll order a single Starbucks, and I'm not a huge Starbucks fan, but she'll order a single Starbucks. And I feel bad for the DoorDasher who has to bring it. She'll overtip the DoorDasher, which is very nice of her. But a DoorDasher will have to get up at be out there at 7 a.m. and deliver a coffee to our door. Amazing the world that we live in now, but someone will actually do that. And so I decided to do it for her this morning, and I actually ordered one for myself as well. So, in fact, I feel guilty about it. I do feel guilty about it, but that's what she likes. And so what you do on birthdays, at least in my house, is, you can get somebody a nice expensive gift, but you got to get them stuff that they, so she appreciates a coffee in the morning and some flowers and some conversation and everything like that. So I didn't race in here like I normally do. I needed a little bit extra time. And then on top of it, she's sick. So we had dinner reservations. So we had to talk about that. So that leads me to, I do Warriors post-game shows after every Warriors game, but it's her birthday and we have a dinner scheduled. And I know that we have bottom of the pint. I'm not sure I can do bottom of the pint because it's going to depend on how she feels, because it's her birthday. It's all about her today. And we're supposed to go out to dinner, and I was going to miss bottom of the pint and post game and all that kind of stuff, but we'll see how she feels. So keep your alerts on. That's why I say keep your alerts on, because I might be doing a post game. We might be doing a bottom of the pint. I got to talk to Larry Krueger about it in the Krug show and see what's going on, because my wife feels okay. And this morning she doesn't. Then we're going to be doing stuff. If she feels good, then we're going to be going out to dinner because we have a reservation and it's her dinner. So we'll see. But anyway, it affects two things. It affected me being late today, and it affects me tonight. And I apologize. But it's her birthday. You know how that goes, man. You gotta do it right. Doesn't matter how long. Got to do it right. So that's what's going on today. So good morning, good morning, good morning. I hope everybody is absolutely outstanding on this Friday edition of the show as we get you ready for the Warriors and a critical, not must win, but a critical. And I don't know why there's such a debate between what is a must win and what is a critical or important or whatever it is term you want to use. It gets thrown around on the talking head shows all the time. Is this a must win game? It's only a must win game by definition. If you don't win, you go home. That's what must win is. So we hear people all the time when it's not must win, say it's must win. They need to act like it is tonight, and I would call it critical. It is not must win because by definition it is not, but we'll get into that in just a second. I said I would do roll call, and I will. Francis, good morning, good morning, good morning. I saw you talk about Tyler Rogers early. You must have been reading my mind this morning because I saw you and you said against the National League West. Yeah, it's just the funkiness isn't as funky against guys who have seen him before. I mean, that's just the truth. Snot Rockets. What are we talking? We're talking Madison Bumgarner and the Houston Rockets. I love it. I love it. I love it. Hi, Joy. It is good morning to you. Baba Booey Tacky is here this morning. It is great to see you this morning. Hi, Jake. Let's see. What do you got going on here? Divide and conquer. Very nice. Very cool. I love when people bring personal issues to So Divide and Conquer is the name of the game today, picking up the youngest from school because she doesn't want to stay for the high school concert that are brothers and sisters. Sometimes you got to do it. Sometimes like, sorry, man, you got to stay. Like, you got to watch your brothers and sisters. Sorry, man. You support them. They support you. That's what family's all about, man. Sorry. It's just how it goes. Right, look, I'm a terrible parent, generally speaking. So who knows? What else do we have going on today? Let's see. Good morning to Folsom. Steve Dom is here. Great to see you. Great to see you today. Kyle is here this morning. Scott is here this morning. Papa J, please heed his advice today and like and subscribe to both channels, John Lund Unleashed and the Bay Area Sports Collective. I know it's Friday, but I was just kind of took me a minute honestly, I didn't for a second. When I first popped the mic, I was like, what time, what day, what, let's go. Yeah, a lot of people talking about game 6, 49ers faithful. It is really great. Oh, we got beef here. We got beef with Tacky. What's going on here? We got everything going on. Let's see, who else do we have there this morning? Oh, it is great to see you, Fiend, this morning. Hi, Chris. Good morning to you. Jazz fan is here this morning, so it is great to see everybody. If I've not acknowledged you, hi, Daniel. Hi, 420. Hi, Catalina. It is great to see you. If I have not acknowledged you this morning, I certainly will over the next little while that we are together. So it is great to see everybody today. Let's see. 40's nothing, man. 40's nothing. You're fine. You'll get over it. Believe me. You're fine. Your health, you're feeling good. You're going to be good. 40's nothing. I promise. AJ Vrock. What's going on, Vrock? It is very, very, very good to see you, my friend. What else do we have today? The Nutter is here this morning. East Coast Red and Gold podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, happy Friday. And make sure you're giving them a follow if you're a Niners fan. East Coast Red and Gold podcast. They are great. Danny is here this morning. Good morning. We got a ton of Danny. I might be in your neck of the woods here shortly. I'm going to go see the young son before he heads off to the Cape Cod League. We might be doing something like that. Oh, good morning. Good morning. Danny's got the first super of the day. Remember, if you want to guarantee that your stuff gets on the board during the show and contribute to all of the things that I have my fingers in, that would be great. Good morning, Lund crew. Go Dubs. Let's close it out. Absolutely. And that is Danny. I believe you're in the Valley of the Sun, right, Danny? Good morning to Danny Golden TV. And Danny's got stuff going on as well. So make sure you check out Danny. I know you've got a channel rolling too, Danny, and it's great. So make sure you hit up Danny as well. Good morning, Go Dubs. Let's close it out for Game 6. So good morning to everybody. I hope you're having a great Friday. I hope you have a bunch of great plans for this weekend. But let's get to everything here and discuss a very important day on this Friday because let me get my media stuff up here because it's a 3-2 series. You want to close it out. As I said as I showed you on the show cover here, it's not must win. But it's close. I'm going to call it a critical game. That's what I call games that are not must win. By definition, this is not. So it's a critical game. But you see that thumb that almost looks like a bodybuilder's like shoulder. And then I don't know what that would be, but it doesn't look right. I mean, I don't know what you call that thumb right there. but it doesn't look right, and it doesn't matter what anybody says. This is having an effect on Steph Curry. It's having an effect on the series. His last 2 games have not been good. As I said, in Game 5, give all the credit to Houston. Sometimes you got to do that as a fan. You don't like doing it. You want to find out what your team didn't do right. You want to bitch and moan about your coach, your player, you're this, you're that, the Zebras, whatever the case may be. But the reality is Game 5 was Houston, and they were ready to play. They came out, they kicked ass from pretty much start to finish, and that's just what it is. Now, Steph Curry's thumb, that could throw everything off because they could play a great game, but if 30's not playing to his level and right, then all bets are off. So if you missed it, here's what we played yesterday. Steph Curry and Anthony Slater is the one asking the questions here, but you can tell, especially in the end here, just the smirk that Steph gives him, like, what do you want me to say? Of course, I'm not going to admit that the injury is happening, or that it's hurting me. But you can see at the end kind of the smirk, like, what do you want me to say here? Here's Steph.
What are you talking about? No, the internet is the fence at this point.
I love this league so much. I love it so much.
How is your thumb? Besides cold because you're icing?
I don't even know how to answer it. It's just something you're dealing with and you keep it moving. As long as I can play. You got to rap for a reason, but that's it.
Do you feel it's impacting your game at all?
No. No. Not at all.
So there's a couple of things there. Let me evaluate what Steph Curry said right there, both from a standpoint of what he said, how he said it, and then his facial features. So, the first part is, the internet showing the thumb picture and all this kind of stuff, and Steph's kind of frustrated by that. And then he gets asked about it, and he's you can tell that's about as frustrated or flustered as Steph gets on a podium. Like, I love this league. This is so great. Like the fact that he has to continue to answer these questions about it. But it's just such a massive story because it affects this series. If Steph can play at a Steph level, and we all know what that is, then the Warriors beat the Rockets, whether it's tonight or in Game 7. Eventually, Steph will have one of those games, and the other team can't do anything about it. And Houston's done about as good of a job as you can do on Steph Curry, bad thumb or not, from the April 6th game in which they shut him down to 3 of 10, 1 of 10 from the field, and Amen Thompson had a great game. He's broken out a couple of times against the Rockets because that's what Steph Curry does. Usually good offense beats good defense, but every once in a while that defense can rear its head, and they've been as physical as anybody's been with Steph in a number of years, and the officials have allowed it, and that's what the game is going to be, and it's probably going to be that way tonight. So, it's kind of a crapshoot, but then you throw in the thumb thing, and over the last couple of games, he just hasn't been effective, and Amen Thompson and the Rockets know that, and they know there's an injury. So a couple of things are happening. They're putting a ton of pressure on ball pressure on him, and Amen Thompson's doing a lot of that. And then when he's off the ball, as we all know, and it's just not going to be called. So you can complain and bitch and all those kind of things. But the reality is they're going to because they have in the entire series, they're going to let the Rockets hold him, push him, punish him, whatever it is, away from the ball, because that's just what they've done the entire series. You have to assume, ask you me, but you have to assume that that's going to happen the rest of the series. So off the ball, he's getting bumped around, grabbed, pushed, whatever. On the ball, tons of ball pressure, especially by Amen Thompson, who's bigger and a really good athlete and played great defensively. Picked his pocket a couple times early to set the tone in that game. And then when he shoots the basketball, Dylan Brooks or whomever, and as Steve Kerr said yesterday, day before, that it's legal to do that. He sent the message to the officials, hoping that at least he'll get 1 or 2 calls. He's not going to get them all. He knows that. But he's hoping to get 1 or 2 key calls in this game, i.e. the fourth quarter, the game's close, whatever the case may be, and all of a sudden, there's a foul, and Steph gets 3 shots in a game that's tied with, 44 seconds left on the clock or something like that. He's just hoping to get a couple of those calls in a close playoff game against the Rockets. That's why he said what he said. So that's the way it's going to be played tonight. They're going to hit the thumb on shots. They're going to put a ton of ball pressure on him, especially with Amen Thompson and athletes that they have on this team. Jalen Green has done it a few times. And then off the ball, they're going to grab, clutch, hug, whatever the officials will allow. And I'm sure before the game, because this is what coaches do, Steve Kerr will go to the officials and say to them, please watch off the ball, because that's one of the things that's hindering Steph is he's not able to get to his spots on the court. They're not able to run clean offense because as much as Steph moves, and he does, they're putting a ton of, obviously a ton of attention on him, but also it's just they're slowing him down with clutching and grabbing and all those kind of things, and they're allowing it to happen. But that's the playoffs. The Warriors know that. So number one on the list, everything tonight for Game 6 is getting Steph Curry going, getting his confidence going, getting the, whatever they have to do with the thumb, trying to protect him, all those different things that they're going to do. Steph Curry is the key to everything. We know that, but between the thumb and the way that the series is being called, Steph Curry is having a little bit of trouble. Do I expect him to break out? Yeah, but if the thumb is giving him trouble and affecting his shooting, which he just told you, I'm just assessing what he said right there. A, he's frustrated about being, followed the way that he is, like it's an FBI thing. B, he's frustrated that he has to talk about it. C, they're asking him, if it hurts or affect it. Look, the last 2 games, you're seeing what it's doing. He's wearing a splint on there. He's sitting there going, what else do you want me to do? I mean, you can see it, but I'm not going to say it. You can see it's affecting it, but there's no point in saying it. And then his coach is trying to get a couple of possessions or a couple of calls by playing a little bit of verbal warfare during a playoff series, which is quite common. So that's where we are with Steph Curry. As we look at the team, and nobody's 100% at this point of the season in any sport, but they've been banged around for 82 games plus the playoffs so far, and they're older. So it comes down to, will Steph Curry be healthy? If I was just looking at this game as Rockets, Warriors at home, it's a Game 6, it's a closeout team, it's a veteran team against a younger team, I think the Warriors would win this game. But there's been a monkey wrench thrown into this whole thing because of Steph's injury in the last couple of games. He just hasn't been right. And because of the way it's being officiated, that's going to continue. He's going to get bumped. The hand's going to get hit. All those things are going to be happening. And so really what it comes down to, another part of this whole thing and the second part of the equation. So we've evaluated what Steph said. We've evaluated Steph's situation. But what I think needs to happen here is, and didn't happen last game with the rest of the starters, they need Brandon Podziemski to hit shots. They need Houston to have to think in a certain way, like, okay, we're not going to leave Curry, obviously, and he's the head of the snake here, but they are leaving Podziemski open, and he does need to hit those shots this game. And Moses Moody or whomever starts, maybe it's Buddy Hield. To me, I'm not going to call it an immense amount of pressure because that's what the playoffs are all about. But Steve Kerr has got to realize and coach the game this way. All right, you got yourself a mulligan in Houston. You got yourself a bunch of rest. You looked at Game 6 and said, this is the one. We're at home. This is it. We sat our guys. We got them the rest. We pulled the plug early. There was nothing wrong with that. I did a blurb at halftime of the game, and it was 76-44. And I said, you don't even need this. It's not 5 minutes. Let's see if they can do it in 5 minutes, and then we'll pull the plug. Just pull the plug. Like, you didn't even need to put them in at all at the beginning of the second half. Just give them the whole second half off. Just do that. Now, they played them a few minutes. Didn't matter, and they got most of the second half off anyway. But if you looked at what the starters did in the last game, they just didn't get help. So you've got, even though you're not going to treat this like it's a must win, and Steph Curry's not going to play 45 and all those kind of things, because you do have a bit of a safety net here going to Houston for Game 7, which is not what you want to do, but you got to treat it differently. You've got to treat it as it's not must win, but it's extremely critical. So if Steph has to play a few extra minutes, he just does. So does Jimmy Butler. So, if Buddy Hield at the beginning of this game doesn't show that he's got at least some warmth, he doesn't have to be red hot, but some warmth to his game, to his shooting, then he's got to go. And then you got to go to the other end of the floor, and you got to say, we got to stop Fred VanVleet. Like, he can't get confident early. At 8 threes the last time he was in this building. Do you think that Fred VanVleet's confident walking into this building? Of course he is. He beat the Warriors a few years ago for an NBA championship. He had 8 threes the last time he was in this building. He is extremely confident against the Warriors. Well, how do you do that? Not with Buddy Hield. So if they're starting Buddy Hield, which I wouldn't, but if Steve Kerr is going to start Buddy Hield, he better be hot. He better be rolling, because he's not, and I'm talking the first couple of shots. He doesn't get warm up. Like, and I'm telling Buddy Hield, if the first 2 don't go in, GP2 is going into the game. Because I need to stop Fred VanVleet on the other side. I cannot let Fred VanVleet get confident, period. So if you're not giving me offense, then I got to counter that with defense. And maybe the happy medium is Moses Moody. To me tonight, I'd start GP2. And I would just put him right on Fred VanVleet, right out of the gate. Because if Fred VanVleet at least misses the first couple of shots, and he's a veteran, so he's probably going to maintain his confidence. But if Fred VanVleet misses a couple, maybe there's some doubt in his mind, because right now there's none. He's thinking to himself, I hit 8 the last time he was in this building. We waxed these guys. I've beaten them for a championship when I was with Toronto. I got no worries. So the best way to do that is not with Buddy Hield and go pure offense. To me, it's GP2. And I think you set a tone in this game, and it's a tough tone. So there's all that. And then, look, they've done a nice job on the boards for the most part. They've actually outscored them at the beginning of the series. It was all talking about second chance points and offensive rebounding. They've done a nice job in that. To me, it goes back to, again, they're done sparring. Now they're hitting. They've kind of tried to figure everything out. And I said, with the Warriors, most times, and especially in the 7 games, they're going to figure you out. I think tonight is one of those games. I think Steve Kerr does a couple of things. Like I said, I think GP2 should be the starter tonight, along with, obviously Steph and Podziemski and Draymond and Jimmy. I think, and you put them right on Fred VanVleet. That would be one change that I would make. And then the other thing that I've got to do is, look, go back to the beginning of the series. Sengun's 2 highest scoring games in this series, 31 and 26, they lost both of those games. I'm going to let Sengun's going to score, but I can't let Jalen Green get going. He had 38, and then he had 11 and 8, 9, 7. I mean, he hasn't had a great series other than game 2. So I can't let Jalen Green get going, and I can't let Fred VanVleet get going. Sengun's going to do what he's going to do. I don't want Draymond Green to get in early foul trouble. I'm not going to give up points, but Draymond's got to stay out of early foul trouble. He's got to stay out of the mental warfare game that I'm sure that Dylan Brooks is going to throw at him. And so there's that. And then if Sengun's going to score, I'm almost going to say that's fine, but I can't let the perimeter players gain confidence. That starts with VanVleet, goes to Jalen Green, even to Dylan Brooks, who had a nice game in game 5, when he scored 24, 25, something like that. I can't let him get going. Like, those peripheral players cannot get going for the Rockets. That's my main goal, and that's why I put GP2 into the game. So defensively, I've got to do that. I got to set a tone. I got to come out with the same energy that Houston came out with in game 5 to say, this is our house and we ain't going home. That needs to be it. Because if I'm Steve Kerr, I'm not going to say that we have to win this game, because then if you don't, then you've put your team into a kind of a weird mental state. But they all know. They're veterans. And you just have to say to them, look, guys, the tone that they set early, they're at 40-24. They put it was 8-5. They put some sort of, I think it was like a 12-0 run on the Warriors in the first quarter. Like, that's the kind of thing we need. We need energy. We need the house to be rocking right from the tip. We got to set a physical tone on these guys. We've got to play at our pace. We got to keep the Rockets in the half court. That did not happen in game 5. They were getting out. They were running. They were setting the pace. It was quicker. They've got to be able to do all those things in their house to give Houston doubt, because right now Houston's playing with a boatload of confidence. They blew you out last time. You sat a bunch of guys. VanVleet played well. All the starters played well for Houston. They're all thinking to themselves, we got these guys. And now Steph Curry's talking about a thumb and injuries, and Jimmy still got his pelvic contusion. I'm sure he's banged up and not feeling great. And Draymond Green's probably not feeling great in this series because he's had to deal with Sengun a lot. So look, you got yourself some rest. It's your building. It's your game. It's not must win, but it's damn critical, because you go back to game 7 in Houston. Can you win it? Yeah, you've done it before. I mean, Steph Curry has against James Harden and guys like that. But this is a young team that almost doesn't know better, and they're thinking to themselves, I got game 7 in our place. Like that. So, and plus the other side of it is that I've said this through the whole process. This has almost gone out the window in just one game. When they were up 3-1 and the Timberwolves hadn't knocked the Lakers out yet, we're saying to ourselves, get this game and you can get some rest. Well, you get this game tonight, you can get a little rest. You don't get this game, and if you did win a game 7, which I wouldn't like their chances, by the way, in Houston, and I said Warriors in 6 this whole time from the beginning, so obviously that's what I think is going to happen tonight. But then you got to play a game 7 completely drained. Draymond's tired, very little rest, and you go into Minnesota, you're probably getting blown out in game 1. I mean, it's just they've gotten the rest. They're ready to go. So you put yourself in a hole for the next series if you can't get a victory tonight. Now, you want to win to move on. I get it. But if you want to make it beyond this round, tonight becomes a really critical game. So that's where we are as far as the chalkboard is concerned. Episode 137, 3-2 series lead. Not must win, but close. Curry's thumb is going to be a discussion. But does Buddy start? I wouldn't. I'd go GP2 in that last slot. Slowing down VanVleet would be the reason why I would go GP2. Sengun's going to get what he's going to get. He has most of this series. The other guys, Jalen Green, Fred VanVleet in particular, I can't let those guys get going. So that needs to be a big part of the game plan. If they don't win on the chalkboard right there, and that's going to roll me into LeBron James in just a second, but if they don't win, and I'm talking about the series, because I've read all these articles today on LeBron and how Luka has the Lakers kind of over a bit of a barrel because he's not signed long-term. And so he's going to watch what the Lakers do in this offseason, and he's never going to say it. But I'm sure the discussions, I'd love to be a fly on the wall with Rob Pelinka and the agents for Luka Doncic, because they're going to say off the record, behind the scenes, make sure all the phones are turned off, he wants LeBron out. He doesn't want him here. They need a better fit. He's already on record as saying, there was, like I said, the piece in The Athletic today, that he's already on record as saying, look, we need some lob threats, and it's not Jackson Hayes. He mentioned the guys that he had, guys like Derek Lively and those guys in Dallas, because he loves, he's obviously a pick and roll guy, and he loves the lob threats and all those kind of things. And the Lakers don't possess that right now. And how are you going to get that? How are you going to get better? How are you going to get the perimeter shooters you need, the 3-and-D guys? How are you going to fill the Lakers team with that? Well, LeBron James would probably help going the other way, or however they're going to do that. But they're just not a fit. But my point is let me not jump to that so quickly. My point in saying that is all this kumbaya with the Warriors and everything's feeling great and Jimmy Butler's a great fit and all these things will go by the wayside if they don't win this series. You're up 3-1. Just think of Joe Lacob. And I played a clip for you the other day because I was looking for something else. What was I looking for? Oh, I was looking for George Kittle, because George Kittle had signed his contract extension. This was a couple of days ago, a couple of shows ago. You can go back at John Lund Unleashed on YouTube and check it out. But I was looking back through my archives of videos of the show, and I was looking for George Kittle from the Super Bowl talking about his contract with Kay Adams. So when I found that, about the same time, I have them by date, around the same time was the NBA trade deadline, and I played for you Draymond Green talking about how Joe Lacob was going to be aggressive at the trade deadline because Joe Lacob hates losing more than anybody, and he's so damn competitive. Well, think about Joe Lacob in this way. Okay, he decided, fine, we're not going to get Jimmy Butler if we don't do the extension. So he gives Jimmy Butler the extension, and he's paying Draymond a ton, and he's paying Curry a ton. And we know the financial situation, but he didn't want to do it. But Jimmy Butler wasn't coming here without it, and he knew it. And he knew that was his only chance to extend this thing at the deadline. So he said, fine, because they're 25 and 26. We've said this before. You and I have talked about it a lot. They'd be out of the playoffs. They would have been a play-in team. Steph Curry would have asked for a trade. This whole thing would have gotten blown up. Jimmy Butler saves it. He's excited. They extend. They play all this. They pay all this money. Here's the problem now. All right, Joe's feeling great. He thinks they're going to go far. Like blah 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 blah. And now Houston comes back from a 3-1 series deficit. Now look, I'm going to worst case scenario. There's 2 games to play. I get it. But what I'm saying is that if they don't win this series, Joe Lake's going to go, so what exactly? It was a fun little roller coaster ride. But what exactly did we accomplish here? We got knocked out in the first round of the playoffs. I'm going to pay a bunch of money. I extended Jimmy Butler for 2 more years. I got Steph, which, look, he has no issue with that. I got Draymond Green here. I'm still paying all this money. Now they're going to trade Jonathan Kuminga in the offseason for some sort of a big, stretch big. And now is the time. We've talked about it for years and years and years and years and years. But it would seem that Miles Turner, who's a free agent this offseason, I don't know what he thinks of the Warriors, but a sign and trade Kuminga to the Pacers and Miles Turner, who's still just like 27 years old, which he feels like he's been here forever. I think got drafted in 2015. It seems like the perfect time finally for Miles Turner to, the 3-and-D guy that they kind of need, the stretch big, I should say. He's not a 3-and-D. He's a stretch big, but he can defend on the other end of the court. That's the kind of player they need, Markkanen, maybe Bobby Portis, Naz Reid, not exactly perfect, but that kind of a person who can do a little bit of, on both ends of the floor. A couple of those guys I mentioned are more offense than defense. I love like Jared Allen or somebody like that, but he's not a 3 guy. So, whatever. Somebody like that, a stretch, is definitely going to be something that they're going to move Jonathan Kuminga for. But whomever that is that you grab, like let's say it's Miles Turner. Miles Turner, that's going to be a sign and trade, and he's going to want a bunch of money. So what are you going to do with that? Jared Allen has a big contract. So anybody that you bring in, Naz Reid's a free agent. So Naz Reid's going to go, okay, sign and trade with Kuminga. Let's go back to Minnesota, because that's been pretty nice. I mean, Steph Curry, Minnesota allowed you to get Steph Curry because they're dopes. They were the ones who did the Wiggins trade for D'Angelo Russell. Like, I'd go back to the Minnesota well. That's been nice. That's been a good one. So, yeah, okay, here's Kuminga. Take Kuminga. which, by the way, ironically enough, that was their pick that you got back in the Wiggins trade. So here, okay, fine. You can have Jonathan Kuminga, we get Naz Reid, or whatever the case. But what I'm saying is any of those players, whether it's Naz Reid or Miles Turner, who would be a nice fit, those guys are free agents. Miles Turner's a free agent, so you're going to have to pay him. And Joe Lacob is already kind of committed to Jimmy Butler. So let me get this straight. You want me to, for a first-round knockout team, we were excited about him, but for a first-round knockout team, you want me to then trade Kuminga, who I don't want to give a big contract to, but give a big contract to Miles Turner. And now I'm paying Butler, Curry, Draymond, Miles Turner. Peyton's not making nothing. So, I got that expensive roster again, but I have a team that got knocked out in the first round. So that's all I'm saying. Like if they beat Houston, all right, and they give Minnesota a hell of a time, or maybe they beat Minnesota and then they go to the conference finals and they get beat there by OKC or the Clippers or whomever, or Denver, and Joe can say we were pretty close. But what's Joe going to say? What's Joe Lacob, who's got the control of the purse strings? What's he going to say for a team that got knocked out in the first round? I mean, they don't want to pay Kuminga. I know that, but what you're telling me then I got to give out a big fat contract to Miles Turner. I'm going to trade Kuminga to Indiana, do a sign and trade. Turner's a free agent. I got to sign him to a big contract, or Naz Reid to a big contract, or whomever that big is going to be. Insert here. And you want me to do that for a team that got knocked out in the first round? He didn't want to do it before the offseason. This last offseason, that's why they got nothing for Chris Paul. They're going, we don't want to do this again. We got knocked out in the first round. Last year they got knocked out in the play-in. I mean, the play-in to get knocked out in the first round, there's not a massive difference to that. So these two games are critical not only to advance, but also to what Joe Lacob is going to do in the offseason. Because if I'm Joe Lacob, it's like, look, I've been paying this for a long time. And a lot of owners, and we've had this conversation ad nauseum, a lot of them don't want to win. They act like they do, but they don't. It's just another business, and they like having the cachet of owning a team and everything else, but they run it like a business. Joe Lacob runs it like he wants to win at a really high level. But even he has his limits. Hold on. I was going to sneeze. I'll sneeze in a minute. Anyway, there you go. I'm sure you are telling the truth, but let me double check this. Greg Popovich will no longer be the head coach of the San Antonio and full-time team president. Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. He's having a lot of health issues, and I would imagine one of his assistants, he's got a million of them. One of his assistants will take over. Let me just double check. I'm not saying that you're not telling the truth. I'm sure you are, and I'm glad that you shared that with the class. But I'm just double checking on that. Yeah, there it is right there. And yeah, I would imagine that one of his assistants, and there's a ton of them throughout the league, would go ahead and take over San Antonio. That's a really good job right now. I mean, with Victor Wembanyama and all the young players that San Antonio has, they're on the verge. And there's a lot of people that would want that San Antonio job. So absolutely. I mean, if I'm San Antonio, not that they're going to get him, but I mean, they would call Steve Kerr probably first. You sure you're going to let Steve Kerr go? And they'd be like, no. But, all these different guys who have coached under Greg Popovich who have said, yeah, if Pop leaves this guy, if Pop leaves that guy. I'm sure probably top on their list is Steve Kerr, but they're not getting him. But anyway, there you go. All right, Greg Popovich will not be coaching the Spurs anymore. He's had a ton, like I said, and you know this, he's had a ton of health issues, so it doesn't surprise me whatsoever that he's going to step up and be upstairs. And, yeah, absolutely, skills. End of an era. Whatever you think of Greg Popovich, whatever you think of the Spurs, that dude was a hell of a coach. And I can tell you, because like I said, I covered some of the series that San Antonio was playing, Utah, and other series that the Spurs were in as well. And I don't know that there was a more, well, you've seen it on the sidelines. I mean, I don't think there was a more intimidating guy to interview than him. Jerry Sloan, who I interviewed a bunch of times before and after games, was damn close, especially with that cigarette breath and the way he would look at you. But Popovich was probably top. And you'd be in a scrum. And I had to, because like I said, I was my first year on the beat, I was the opposition. I would cover the opposition. And so when you had a mic in there and you were in the front, and you better be damn sure that your question was phrased correctly, or Greg Popovich would make you look like a fool. I mean, it's just what it was, man. You're like, okay, how am I putting this and how am I saying? And you couldn't be a yes, no, because Popovich would look at you and go, yes, no. It was like, and then you'd go like this, like, oh, I'm so stupid. But anyway, yeah, he was an intimidating dude. But then again, I mean, you like, I'm sure Tommy will talk about him. I mean, he loved Tolbert, and remember that sideline thing where they talked about otters and that kind of stuff? It was amazing. Like, if he liked you, he liked you. You know, he liked Craig Sager. He liked certain guys, and he would have fun with certain guys. But other guys, like, he didn't know you. And like I said, he knew who I was just because I was around it so much at that point. But it didn't mean he wasn't going to embarrass you, believe me. And he did. I mean, there were certain people who was like, you knew right when it came out of their mouth, the way it was phrased, that was going to be embarrassing, and was like, oh, you just felt, I mean, it was uncomfortable. It was awkward. It was so weird. Anyway, yeah, Greg Popovich kicked upstairs with the Spurs. They'll be looking for a brand new head coach. So there you go. That's the latest as far as he goes. All right. So episode 131, we went through how important tonight's game is. If they don't win, like I said, I think there could be a shift similar to what I think is going to be going on in LA. Will LeBron be a Laker? Look, if I was a betting man, and I am, I'd say it's 80-20, maybe even higher against LeBron not being a Laker. I just don't think he's going to be. I think that if Luka was signed to a long-term contract, maybe it would be different, but you saw in the playoffs, it doesn't fit. Two ball-dominant players like that, it just doesn't fit. And it's not like, and I've said this many, many times, a bunch of people said when Durant signed with the Warriors that it wasn't going to work, but the ball moved, and you knew the ball was going to move. So anybody who knew anything about what the Warriors were all about was like, well, Durant's going to move it. Steph's going to move it. Clay doesn't need it. Those are the main guys there. Draymond Green doesn't need it. So the ball's going to move. They're going to be fine. LeBron James and Luka Doncic, a lot when you watch Lakers games, was my turn, your turn, my turn, your turn, my turn, your turn. And the other guy's standing around, and the other guy's not a jump shooter. You know, LeBron, okay, let me kick it to LeBron. You know, okay, let me shoot one. Let's kick it to Luka. Let me shoot. Like, you're doing them a disservice, because what they do is they draw and dish a lot of times, or they make a play themselves or whatever. They're ball dominant players. They need it in their hands to create. And so it just doesn't match. Luka's 26. LeBron's 40. It's pretty obvious what they're going to do. So like I said this yesterday, I think there's two things. I think there's create an old man team that if the Warriors hadn't gotten Jimmy Butler, I think Steph Curry would want to be a part of, but not anymore. So create an old man team with LeBron, Durant, whomever, or on a certain team, which might be like Phoenix, something like that. Or Cleveland doesn't win the championship this year, and they look damn good in their first round series, but Cleveland doesn't win the championship, and all of a sudden it's, okay, Cleveland, gets LeBron James. He rides in on a white horse and possibly rides off into the sunset, winning Cleveland another championship. I don't know how you could have a more perfect end to his career. So one of those two things I believe is going to happen for LeBron James. I don't think he's going to be a Laker. I just don't see it. And this morning, a lot of people wrote about it, and we're talking about, they don't fit. Those two don't fit. And it's quite easy. They're taking the 26-year-old. That's why they traded for Luka Doncic. It's what the Lakers have done for years and years and years. They go from one star to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next, and they keep the link going. They've done an amazing job doing it over the years. From Shaquille O'Neal coming there to, obviously Kobe, and they tried to get Dwight Howard when he was in his height, but he didn't want to stay there and didn't re-sign. And their biggest thing right now is to not have egg all over their faces. We can't let Luka walk out the door. So he's got one more year left on his deal, and he could walk. So he's got them over a barrel where he's going to say, this is what the team's going to look like. And there's already reports out there, like I said, Sam Amick and Jovan Buha have a piece out right now in The Athletic talking about it and how Luka holds all the cards as far as his future, and he does not have to sign long-term with the Lakers. So he could conceivably, and really he's probably pissed off because he could have got the Supermax, but now they got traded to the Lakers. What he'll probably do is sign a shorter deal and then establish with the Lakers, and then he can sign a Supermax a little bit later on. But he lost that ability to get the most money he possibly could when he got traded. So he's probably not real happy about it. So I'd imagine that he'll probably see what the Lakers are going to do, who they're going to surround him with. He may not sign. He may just wait, or he would sign a shorter term deal. Still, he'd have all the cards. He's 26. He knows they're not going to build around 40-year-old LeBron, and he wants to dominate the basketball again, whether it becomes public or not. I'm sure it certainly will at some point. That he just doesn't want LeBron on the team, and he wants guys roughly his age. And I'm sure if I'm the Lakers, I feel the same way. I've got a 26-year-old that I can build around, and I can have a 10-year window with this guy. Or there's 40-year-old LeBron James who is probably going to be more concerned about what his farewell tour is going to look like than what his championship aspirations will be. Because LeBron's legacy is not going to change that much. Even if he were to win one more championship, and whether you want to say the Lakers championship was tainted or not in the bubble, or fake or not in the bubble, which I tend to think it was. Whatever. He hasn't had a whole lot of success outside of that with the Lakers. He just hasn't. They get knocked out in the first round. They've kind of been like the Warriors lately. They just haven't really gotten it going or had the right mix. So they won the 2020 championship. It was bubbled, and anything else that they've done, they haven't even really gotten close. So if I'm the Lakers, what am I losing in LeBron James? The Lakers are the brand. You're not. LeBron is not Kobe. He wasn't there his whole career. If you looked at him on the list of the way that I think, and I have a lot of friends who are Lakers fans, how people view him as a Laker as far as Lakers fans are concerned, I mean, they like him, but he's not Kobe. He's not Shaq. He's not Elgin Baylor. He's not Kareem. He's not Magic. He's none of those guys. So it's not like they wouldn't come out because they replaced him with another superstar. That's what they did. That's why it was so huge for them. Is LA's about, they got a lot to compete with, just like we do up here. Like we have a lot of entertainment options. And so the Lakers are looking at it going, well, we've got Luka. He's a star. We're fine. LeBron's not packing them in. It's the Lakers brand that brings them in. It's winning that brings them in. They don't want to watch a bunch of losers. And Luka's really good, and they can build around Luka and have players that not only fit his game better, i.e. 3-and-D type players that he can dish to when he's moving or whatever, or pick and roll. Like I said, he needs a rim runner and a guys in the dunker spot and a pick and roll guy with size. That's what he's looking for. And it ain't Jackson Hayes. I got news for you. And it ain't LeBron James while he's standing around in the corner going, when are you going to pass me the ball? That doesn't fit. So I don't think it's happening. I don't think he's going to be there. I think it's going to be Luka's team. Luka's got contract issues, and he can say to the Lakers, I can burn you. I can burn you to the ground, because if I don't re-sign here and LeBron leaves, see you later. Who you building around? Austin Reeves? I'm sorry. Austin Reeves does not have the box office power it takes, and he knows it. I can see that. That's a good call right there. LeBron to Dallas. I can see that. And wherever. I mean, wherever they want to build an old man team. Now, Anthony Davis, that would make some sense. Anthony Davis is there. Contractually, they'd probably off to take a little bit less, and I don't know if LeBron's ego would do that. What's he supposed to make? I think next year, $52 million. So I don't know if his ego could take that, but we'll see. And again, I'm comping it a little bit to the Warriors. The Warriors won't blow it up. I mean, they've got Jimmy under contract, but again, Jimmy's extension could be moved. You're not moving Steph Curry. You're not moving Draymond Green. I'm simply saying that if Joe Lacob gets knocked out in the first round, don't assume that Joe Lacob's going to go, oh man, we're really close. Let's go balls out. Let's go trade Kuminga, and Miles Turner makes a ton of sense. And I've always wanted Miles Turner, and he's he can be that stretch big and give us a defensive presence on the other end, so we can deal with some of these guys. We can deal with some of that size in the West. Yeah, let's max him, or not max him out, but let's give him a bunch of money. Miles Turner's probably getting what, 30 million more? I don't know, 35, whatever he's getting. I mean, he's getting a bunch of money. So don't assume if they get knocked out in the first round that Joe Lacob's going to go to the plan and say, okay, we're moving Kuminga and we're bringing in Miles Turner. And we're going to pay him $30+ million. And he's 27. So that's probably a 4 or a 5-year contract. Yeah, let's go all in. Let's hit that tax at a really high level again. Yeah, that's a good point on Giannis. I don't know if it would be LeBron. I don't know. LeBron wants to go to Milwaukee. I think he'd want to go back to Cleveland, but Giannis might be moved just because I think Milwaukee's done. I mean, the problem is Bronny. The problem with Milwaukee now is Milwaukee is with Damian Lillard's Achilles situation, and he's going to be out all of next year. What are they? I mean, he can't move. Obviously, Lillard, it still counts. I mean, the money counts for Lillard. So now you're sitting there going, okay, Chris Middleton got traded. Like, who does he have on his team? Kyle Kuzma? I mean, him and Kyle Kuzma aren't going anywhere. So, I mean, in terms of winning a championship. So, this is probably offseason where Giannis says, yeah, I think we've hit our run. Now, where's he going? It's, the Warriors have always been talked about when it's Giannis. I think the team to watch in this offseason, because they have a bunch of young talent and it's time for them to pull it together, is San Antonio. Greg Popovich, because of health reasons, if you haven't heard, and thank you, the chat room broke it, and I just looked it up to confirm it. Not that I didn't believe you. But whoever's going to succeed Greg Popovich in San Antonio as head coach, they're loving it. I mean, they have the rookie of the year. Stephon Castle's the rookie of the year. They got a bunch of other young players on that team who can play. Obviously, Victor leads the whole thing. Victor Wembanyama leads the whole thing. I mean, that's going to be the preferred destination probably of Kevin Durant, of 𝐻𝐿𝐫𝐞, 𝐬𝐮𝐬𝐜𝐫𝐿, like any big name star is going to look at that team and say, damn, you see the youth on that team? You play with Victor? Yes, please. I mean, that's going to be a place, no state income tax in Texas. That's going to be a place that players are going to look at and say, that's the next up and coming team. Or Houston. I could see that too. You know, I could see Houston flaming out tonight. Jalen Green, the team looking at Jalen Green going, ugh, you know, and, you know, Men Thompson as good as he is. And I wouldn't want to trade him if I were the Rockets, but owners tend to be impatient. And if they had an opportunity in Houston to get an 𝐷𝐴NTHONY:COOPO or a Durant to me is too old and too quirky and too this and that. And I love Kevin Durant. He's a great player, but I wouldn't trade, if I was Houston, I wouldn't trade Jalen Green and a Men Thompson. They don't make any money anyway, so you'd have to throw in somebody and make some money. But I wouldn't throw away my future if I was Houston. Now, 𝐷𝐴NTHONY:COOPO is a different story because he's younger and still has years left. But I could see Houston and San Antonio going in those directions and looking at those guys, but especially the Spurs. And they've got some young talent to trade back the other way. So that's an interesting one. And so does Houston. It's just a matter of how patient the ownership wants to be. I could see that with Oklahoma City too. Oklahoma City's got a bunch of really good players, and they have 𝐦𝐫𝐽, but they don't have exactly the Robin. I mean, they do. Don't get me wrong. Jalen Williams is a nice player. They've got, you know, Chet Holmgren's a nice player. They've got some players. I'm not saying they don't. But what tends to happen from an ownership standpoint in the NBA is I want to accelerate the process. I'm sick of being close. So Oklahoma City's young and has young players to trade if they don't win it. Cleveland has, I don't know that they have young players to trade, but Cleveland, especially in LeBron's case, as good as they look in the first round, if they don't win it, I could see Cleveland looking into LeBron James. San Antonio sitting there with Victor and a new head coach. I could see 𝐷𝐴NTHONY:COOPO and Durant wanting to go to San Antonio. Not together. I'm just saying one or the other. I could see Houston, if they don't win this series against the Warriors, get knocked out early with their young talent and saying, okay, let's add a Durant or let's add an 𝐷𝐴NTHONY:COOPO, trade some of this young talent, especially the way that Jalen Green has been disappointing. I could see Jalen Green heading up a trade for either of those guys. And a team like Milwaukee, you know, I could see a team like Milwaukee or a team like Phoenix going, okay, we can build around Jalen Green. He had a disappointing series, but what's he, 23? I think 𝐴men Thompson's 22. I mean, these guys are, you know, especially I love 𝐴men Thompson's future. Jalen Green's a really good player. He doesn't look like he has that killer instinct. Like every time I look at 𝐴men Thompson, I know he's not a great shooter. I know he's got a lot of things he's got to work on, but in terms of his defensive ability and his play around the rim, and he's a great offensive rebounder, and he's got a lot of things going for him at 22. And I could see a team like, you know, the Suns or Milwaukee or something like that going, well, if we got to rebuild, I mean, those aren't bad pieces. So Houston and San Antonio, I could see that. The Lakers, I could see LeBron going to Cleveland possibly. If they don't win a championship, I could see Oklahoma City. If they don't win a championship, trying to get, you know, some of these guys. I don't think LeBron's going to Oklahoma City. I don't see that. But I'm just saying, I could see, you know, some of these guys. I could see some of these teams going, okay, let's try to accelerate the process and get one of these guys in here. Anyway, that's a long story, all of that stuff. So what do you think? Kind of got into a LeBron, and then I went off onto a tangent in about 5 different directions. But bottom line this, and then we can move on to some other things, including the Giants, a little bit on the Niners and things like that today on a Friday edition of the show. But this is a critical game tonight, because if the Rockets win 2 in a row, going back to their place, I don't know what your confidence level is. You tell me. Hit me up in the chat room. My confidence level, the Warriors going into Houston after losing 2 straight to this team with their confidence level, having gotten blown out the last time he saw these 2 teams together in Houston, it's not high. I would go less than 50-50. I'd probably go 70-30 against the Warriors in a Game 7 in Houston. I don't think they would be favored. So tonight becomes, to me, the series. You got to win tonight. You got to come out with the proper intensity. Steve Kerr has got to make an adjustment. I don't think I would start Buddy Hield. I think I'd start GP2 to slow down Fred VanVleet in the way he has been. And then it comes down to, for me, what's Steph's thumb look like tonight? What is he going to do? Cooper Flagg, that's a great question. Yeah, that kid looked good for Duke. I never can tell with guys out of, you know, Caucasian players out of Duke. Is it going to be Danny Ferry or Christian Laettner? That's not fair to say to these guys. But it's like you see that and you're like, well, Duke has had a lot of really good play, you know, big white guys come out of there, and it's like, But Cooper Flagg looks different. Cooper Flagg looks very different. He looks like he's a player. He was very good. What else we got? Like I said, Mark was the one who hit that. Thank you, Mark. Greg Popovich going to step down with his health issues as the head coach of the San Antonio Spurs, just so you know. Now, I don't disagree with you. I don't disagree with you, but it sticks in the back of your head. Like, Danny Ferry was a top 2 pick. Now, he held out. Didn't he get picked by the Clippers? I was like, I ain't going there. So Danny Ferry was one. Christian Laettner was one. Minnesota took him. Remember, he was on the Dream Team. It's like, what is that guy doing there? But it just sticks in the back of your mind. What else do we got as far as basketball? I think that's it. Give me your thoughts tonight. How do you feel about tonight? Are you confident? Would you be confident in a Game 7 at all? What would you give them? I'd give them a 30-70 against in a Game 7 in Houston. So tonight, to me, this is it. It's not must win because by definition it's not, but it's highly advisable. Let's put it that way. It's highly advisable. Yeah, if they get Cooper Flagg, they'd probably keep him. I was going to say maybe they'd trade him for, a Giannis or something like that. I mean, obviously you got to match salaries and all those kind of things, but I'm just simply saying that, do you want another young player on your team, or would you trade if the ping pong balls went their way and they got the number 1 pick, would you trade it and then try to use that as, a centerpiece? Again, you got to make salaries match. I understand that, but as a centerpiece to get like an 𝐷𝐷𝐿𝐵𝐿, because you don't want your team to be so young. I mean, it's just like everybody's young and you don't have those. Like if you look at Houston right now, and I don't like or respect Dylan Brooks all that much. He's played a couple of nice games in this series, but he's not the kind of guy we're like, oh, that's a great veteran presence. But Fred VanVleet is, and Steven Adams is. I mean, you want to get some guys on your team that have won, and I think that Chris Paul's a little too old. Like Chris Paul was nice, and he was kind of a placeholder for this team this year. But if you're San Antonio and you're just super young, there's going to be a lot of mistakes and lapses and things like that. And at some point, you're going to want to go, okay, let's take an asset or two and let's move it and try to get a veteran player and get into this thing. Anyway, there is that. Good stuff, man. Good stuff today. Like I said, that's not a bad. I love La Flop. La Flop says freak. Should not sing. I always think that I forget that I've got a microphone in front of my face. Yeah, there's no question about that. You will need tears. That'll be like 3/4 of that show today, actually. But the Warriors are it's hard to get a word out. All right, let's get to the Giants. I'm not upset about last night. I feel bad for it. Oh, did I play everything that I needed to play? Oh, let me play this. Let me play this for you. Sorry, we're not moving on from the NBA yet because I'm looking at my videos and I'm like, what do we got here? This is Chandler Parsons, who for years stole money from the NBA because he's injured. I think Memphis had to pay him the most money, but he was with Houston for a minute. And so this is his viewpoint on the series right now. He's on some show with Michelle Beadle and Lou Williams on, was it FanDuel, I think?
It was weird.
Quick, this was an ass whooping. On the other side, this has to be eye-opening for the Warriors that we need to clean up a lot of things. The only good news is they were able to rest guys. They were able to get them off their feet with Jimmy being banged up and pulling guys out. I think that obviously is a good thing. But man, this series now is real. 3-2, and the Rockets have all the confidence in the world going forward.
It feels pretty good, Lou.
The one thing is, and this has been talked about between the end of that game or in the middle of that game to right now, and will be talked about up till the beginning of it, there is no momentum in the NBA. There's not. Especially with a team like the Warriors. It's really going to come down to, and because of the 3-point shot in the league, the Rockets could come out tonight and start, 16-3. The game's not over. You can get back into games so quickly. If the Warriors had gotten that thing under 10 at any point, and we talked about this in the postgame and yesterday, they missed the bench guys missed a ton of layups and bunnies and easies around the basket, and had a few of those gone in, they would have put those guys back in the game, and they were down at one point in embarrassing fashion, 30, 35, whatever, 40. I mean, they were down a ton. You can get back into games. So, look, the Warriors aren't coming out tonight freaking out or panicked. If I let that reel run a little bit longer, they were talking about who the pressure was on, and that's one of the dumbest things in sports. Who's the most pressure on? Everybody's under pressure. It's the playoffs. You think the Rockets went 52-30 and had the kind of season they had, and they started in training camp early, just like the Warriors and everybody else, and they've gotten to this point in the season, and they'd be content to just get into the playoffs and lose because they're the Rockets somehow, and hey, this is a good season and we're growing and this, that, and the other. There's pressure on everybody, man. There's pressure on everybody every time at any point in the season. It's just how I would handle it and you would handle it and how they handle it. They're professional athletes. They do it all the time. That's why I think that the Warriors have an advantage tonight, because they have done it, and that's a thing. But momentum is not. I've covered NBA games in the playoffs where one team gets beat by 30 or 40 points, and the next night they beat the other team by 20. It just happens. It happens all the time. The Rockets blew out the Warriors in game 2. The Warriors came back in the next 2 games and beat them. That's just how it is. You execute on that night. That's what it is. There isn't momentum. Once the scoreboard gets reset, there is no more momentum. It just isn't that way. It's about it. What it's always about in this series. It's about matchups and who plays well and who's got energy and who's got intensity and who hits shots and who doesn't have lapses defensively and blah, 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 blah. And to me, some of this is out of the Warriors' hands. Like I said, I don't mean to go back to Steph Curry's thumb, but it's that digit right there that I've got up. Would you like to see it again? That right there, that's the key to the series. Like I said, it looks like a bodybuilder's shoulder at the top of that. I don't even know how your thumb does that, where it is right there. I mean, is that thumb not broken? If I showed you that thumb and told you it was, Trent Williams' thumb, you might. I mean, offensive lineman's thumb looks like that. I mean, it's just that's not supposed to do that. And so whatever Steph Curry says, and like I said, when we played that earlier, he smirked. But the series might well just come down to that digit right there. We can sit here and this and that, and this is the key, and that is the key, and blah, 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 blah. But really, the key is right there. How's that thumb going to react? How's that thumb going to feel? How is that, is Dylan Brooks going to hit that thing, and finally that's, he just can't play or can't play effectively or whatever the splint is? The doctor might be the key. How is he going to put that splint on tonight? How is that going to work out? Because if Steph Curry's not hitting shots, do you expect Podziemski to have another one of those games, or can Moses Moody or can Jimmy just carry him, play off Jimmy, or can Draymond all of a sudden defensively just shut down Şengün? No, so it just could come down to, as much as we talk about it, right there, that funky looking thumb right there. Like, what in the hell? Anyway, all right, that's the end of the NBA stuff. Giants yesterday lose to the Rockies. Look, I don't care if you lose one game to the Rockies. You shouldn't do that. The Rockies stink. I mean, that was just, you're watching that game and they give it up. And let me see, is that the box score right there? Yeah, it is. I mean, my God, man. And look, I like Tyler Rogers, and he apologized after the game, and he's had a good year. I mean, he gives up a couple of earned runs. His ERA is 165. I just can't bitch and moan about that. And Rodriguez comes in, does what he does. Duvall. I mean, look at the ERAs and the bullpen guys. I'm sorry. It sucks that Verlander keeps pitching certainly well enough to win, and his last few starts he has. And a couple of weeks ago I said, do they have a Verlander problem? They don't. He's pitching great. For some reason he is being this year's Matt Cain. The last couple he's pitched well. He certainly pitched well enough to win. He's trying to get 300 wins. I think he's in the 260s, and he's just like, I just can't get a break on this team, but last night it was Rogers. And I think right at the beginning, somebody said this against teams in the NL West. I should have looked up these numbers, but out his career, when people have seen him and it's not as freaky to see that stuff, they can play well against them. But the Rockies are 6-25. You got to kick their ass. You had a lead a couple of times in this game, and you needed to win it. I mean, Ramos right there, you can see right out of the gate, they're up 1-0. They tie it. Flores doubles. You're up 3-1 right there. Like, you can't lose to the Rockies in that situation, but it's going to happen during a year. But they're 6-25. So when you look at the end of the year, and you say to yourself, okay, well, what did they do against this team or that team? Remember when they won 107? I know it feels like forever ago. They kicked the hell out of the Rockies and the Diamondbacks, and the Diamondbacks stunk that year too. I can't remember their exact record. I think against the Rockies that year when they won 107, don't quote me on this, but it was something like 18-4 or 18-3, or I mean, it was just an ungodly number against the Rockies because the Rockies stunk so much. So that's just a bad loss. There's just no other way to put it. You lose to the Rockies ever, the kind of year that they're having, they're 6-25. They're already out of it. They didn't even get out of April without having wait till next year. Here's Verlander after the game.
When he came out to get you, you kind of joked with him on the mound. What was the gist of that?
Just asked me if he took me out because I was old. This is kind of going back to the cold weather and looking up, and my first fastball was 92 instead of 3 or 4, and just wasn't quite moving as well and gave up a homer. And so that's something I need to make an adjustment to.
So what he's saying is that he's still adjusting to the ballpark, which it's interesting. You hear hitters say that, at Oracle Park. You know, you got to adjust to the park and this, that, and everything else. And now Verlander's saying, you know, the weather's a little bit colder this time of the year. You know, I got to adjust this and that. It's not on him. I mean, he pitched a good enough game to win. I did see Tyler Rogers after the game apologize to him. I didn't grab that soundbite, but, you know, it's going to happen. I mean, the bullpen has bailed out the starting pitching many, many times. And unfortunately for Justin Verlander, who you'd like to see get the win in that situation, it didn't happen. But it doesn't mean that he's not starting to pitch well. So the encouraging part is that. The discouraging part is you should never lose to the Rockies. I don't care. Another part of this game is the Patrick Bailey thought. And you and I got into this, and not got into this, but you and I talked about this yesterday. So I saw this today when I was perusing things for the show. So this goes back to not just this year, but as Coach Yak puts out there on X, this goes back to August of last year. That's 212 at-bats. That's a pretty good sample size. 160 batting average, a home run, 19 RBIs, 431 OPS. And he writes, concerning. So the problem the issue here becomes, okay, you see that, and yeah, his bat, he might as well be walking up to the plate with a wet noodle right now. I mean, it's just not good. But you can't take him out because of this.
Maybe not as big as Butler's. Throw to first. They got him. Trejo says no. Rockies are going to see if they're going to challenge.
They won't. They shouldn't.
They are not. So Bailey picks off Trejo at first. Here's what it looked like. Spin around, and they got him.
I mean, it wasn't even close. So Bailey's that good, and he skipped one to second base and got a guy there. I'm trying to think who picked that. It was Adames. Adames picked it out of the dirt. They got a guy on a 𝐃𝐨𝐧'𝐭. He's just that good behind the plate. So, you know, you got to outscore teams, but you got to prevent runs, and you can't take Patrick Bailey out because he's just that good. Plus, he's a great framer. He just does so much for the team, but he's hitting $160. And that's, you know, 200 bats since August. And let me just throw this up on the screen. I don't know what's going on with him, and I'm sure they're working with him a ton because, you know, his first couple of years in the league, I mean, I'm not saying he's tearing it up, but he was a good hitter at North Carolina State. He obviously went through the minors very quickly, but like his rookie year there in 353 plate appearances, 326 at-bats, 7 home runs, 48 RBIs, an OPS, which is below the league average, but 644, that's acceptable, especially given what he does defensively. So when he came up in 2023 and posted those numbers offensively, I mean, you know, you're not setting the world on fire, but you're not killing the offense. So, okay, I can live with that. Second year, and again, the first half he was fine. The second half he was atrocious. So again, same thing though. At the end of the year, 8 home runs, 46 RBIs, 234, about the same, 637 OPS in the same range. So he was the same hitter basically first year and a half. The second half of last year was not very good. And then that's bled into this year. So you could deal with the first 2 years of his numbers. Not bad at all. I mean, not, you know, again, not great, but okay. You know, as good as he is defensively, no problem. And then you look at this year, and it's a small sample size. I understand that. I hate that term. It kind of is what it is. We're up to 84 at-bats. So we're almost at, 20% of your at-bats for the season. He'll probably get 500 at-bats this year if he stays healthy. So, we're almost at 20% of that number. No home runs, 9 RBIs. He struck out 31 times, so a third of the time he's up there, he's striking out. A 155 batting average is beyond atrocious, and your OPS is 435. Like, you've got to be the best defensive catcher of all time to stay in the lineup with those numbers. And I'm sure that Bob Melvin will say, we're going to stick with him, but you can't hit like 160 for the year. In the offseason, you're just going to say, and Buster Posey, as a former catcher, just the one side of the equation, we just saw the throw down to first base. He got a guy at second base. I think it was in the first inning that he hopped that one to Adames, who made a nice play on it to tag the runner out. But you're hitting 155. Like it's almost like a Jekyll and Hyde situation where the Giants are like, oh my God, his framing is so good, and look at him, eliminating guys in the base paths, and God, he's just so good. He's an amazing player. He's hitting 155. Like, he's a pitcher in the lineup. That's just what it is, and not a good one. You'd rather have Madison Bumgarner hitting. Like, you'd almost DH him. If the pitchers weren't so bad at hitting because they don't practice at all hitting, like you'd almost DH Patrick Bailey and you say, I'm going to hit the pitcher. The pitcher's going to hit Patrick Bailey's going to be DH'd. Like that's how bad it is. So, it's like one side of your brain is like, oh my God, he's so good, as you just saw the pickoff throw there. And then you look at the other side of it and you're like, we got a Patrick Bailey problem. Like at what point does the offense of the ineptitude on the offense, take away the defense? I don't think anytime soon. And it's like I said, we're not even to 100 at bats here, but let's say we're at another 100 at bats at this level. And he's hitting in the 155, 160 range. You just don't see guys in the lineup hitting at that level. Like they're like, sorry, man, we can't have you there. We can't have you hitting 160 and being in the lineup. So as the graphic showed before that, this has been going on since last August. That's a couple of months of last year. And then it's what's going on at the beginning of this year. And at some point, it's like, my guy's hitting 160. But then the other side of things are like, his framing is amazing. And I think yesterday they said he'd thrown out the third most runners in the league. And his defensive, he's a Gold Glove catcher. And that's massive. But, there's certain guys who have made a living doing that, like Maldonado, remember, with the Astros, and he's bounced around. But that at some point, if you're hitting that low of a level, at that low of a level, you're sitting there going, well, you're probably going to be a journeyman. Like we're going to bring you in and you're going to be our defensive catcher, but God, you're hitting 155, 160. And if you had guys all over the diamond hitting and crushing it, it wouldn't be that big of a deal. But Lamont Wade Jr. now, and now Tyler Fitzgerald's gone for a couple of weeks, and Willie Adames is starting to pick it up. But, Matt Chapman's hitting below the Mendoza line now. It was nice to see Ramos hit that home run. He's in a little bit of a groove right now. Jung-Hoo Lee, nice. Mike 𝐬𝐮𝐬𝐽, we talked about this a little bit yesterday, but, how long can you go with a catcher hitting 160, but he's so damn good behind the plate? It's an issue, man. Because like I said, you just don't see it. And you see defensive catchers, really, 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 really good defensive catchers. Like I said, Maldonado's a great example of it where, again, just bounce all over the league. And I don't know that that's going to be Patrick Bailey, but he's got at least, dude, hit 210, 210, 5 home runs, 50 RBIs, like we can keep you. 160? Oof, it's rough. What else do we got? April A, that's what ESPN gave the Giants, by the way. There you go. I would agree. We're in the Maine. You just lost the Rockies, so we're not feeling great. But it says the following: is this going to be a repeat of 2021 when a Giants team came out of nowhere to win 107 games, blah, blah, blah. The interesting thing is not blah, 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 blah. The only thing that concerns me, I'm going to give you this from their notes. And I don't know if you ever look up the Giants game notes, but they are accessible to anybody. And I just want to show you one thing. Because I always look at this and talk. And so I finally thought to myself, why don't I just show people this number here? Let me see here. I got a bunch of Giants stuff up here. Let me make sure that, is that the right thing? No, that's not the right thing. That's definitely not the right thing. Let's see. Man, where is it? That's not it. Bailey, Giants loss. I know I did that. Tyler Fitzgerald. Let me see if it's this. I hope it is, because I'm doing this blind. There it is right there. All right, hopefully you can see that. It's a little bit small. Let me see if I can make that a little bit bigger for you. There we go. All right, that should be better. All right, so if you look on the right side top column there, scored 3 or fewer runs, 4 and 7. This was before last night. 4 and 7, 4 or more runs. This is the one I tell you about all the time. If the Giants score 4 or more runs, look at that, 15 and 5. If they score 5 or more runs, they're 13 and 0. But if they allow fewer, whatever, 11 and 5. Their key number through the last years have been 4. Score 4. I remember Brian Sabian saying that when he was there. It was like, if we can just score 4 runs, especially in this ballpark, we score 4 runs, we're going to win games. 5, how realistic is that? I mean, for the Giants at this point of the season to be 13 and 0 when they score 5 or more runs, I mean, they just don't normally do that. But 4 becomes the key for the Giants, 15 and 5. So what it comes down to for the Giants is, can they score 4? Like every single night you think to yourself, look at that, 15 and 5. Now 5 and again, 13 and 0 at 5 and 0 or 5 runs. That's a bit of a mirage to me, and that's why I'm showing you that. They're not going to generally score 5 runs, this offense. 4 or more becomes the key consistently to think, can this team do this? Can they score 4 or more? So as I look at their lineup, that's what I keep thinking to myself. Patrick Bailey's hitting 160. Lamont Wade's doing nothing. Fitzgerald now is out of the lineup. Adames puts a lot of pressure on him. He needs to get going. Matt Chapman walks a lot, but he's got to start, he's got to get going as well. Ramos is in a really good streak, like I said, right now. 𝐿 Lee is absolutely legit, and Mike Yastrzemski is a roller coaster ride. And then, of course, you've got Wilmer Flores as your DH, and he's been better than you could have ever expected through April. But can this team score 4? And we talk all the time about, okay, the bullpen is great, and they're going to win games 3-2, 2-1, all those kind of things. They've got to be able to do that from a pitching standpoint. I think they can. But the first month of the year, and this is where I get a little bit nervous on the Giants, it's a bit of a mirage because they scored a bunch of runs, especially early in the season. They scored a bunch of runs. And I just don't think that that's what this team is going to be. And that's when I go back to Bailey. Yeah, you're in this conundrum with Bailey, almost like an angel and a devil. He's preventing those runs. So he is helping you. There's no question about it. He's stealing strikes. He's doing all these great things. But when you go to the plate and you're an absolute zero, it's like, how do you balance that out? They've got to play him. Somebody pointed out Joey Bart. I mean, Joey Bart's not the defender he is, but Joey Bart's turned into a pretty good hitter. So, I don't know if eventually they're going to have to, I don't think that he's going to be in a situation where there's a, you're a hitter, you're a defender kind of a situation. But man, 160 is just 155 actually now. This is hard to swallow. It's tough. They're not replacing him anytime soon, but man, something's got to happen here with Patrick Bailey. So there's the latest there. As far as the Niners are concerned, if you know the show and if you watch the show on any regular basis, if there's nothing going on with a certain team or there's a certain topic, I'm not going to bring it up because I just don't think it's compelling. And what you tune in for every single day, I think, is to hear compelling content and not things that are regurgitated or just brought up for certain reasons or anything. And I talked about Kittle, and I told you that the insider was wrong, and I told you that there was word that I's were being dotted and T's were being crossed. And that's why I kind of got so pissed off. And then about that report. And then he refuted the report, and that person still decided to run with their sources. And so then that same person came out, and I guess this morning, and said, "Oh, somebody offered a second-round pick for George Kittle." I got news for you, man. That happens all the time. It's not news. But then all the people who regurgitate Niners news made it a big deal this morning. I can't tell you how many teams, like, of course, why wouldn't you call and ask for a second, hey, I'll give you a second round pick for George Kittle. You don't think that the Niners throughout the entire draft called teams and said, I'll give you a second round pick for this guy or third round pick for that guy, or, hey, we're on the clock in 10 picks. We'll give you this for that veteran guy. They did throughout the entire draft. They did, I'm sure they called the Giants about Kayvon Thibodeau, and they, I think with Carter there, I don't know why they need 3 edge guys when they have so many needs all over the place. So I still think Thibodeau may move, but the Niners called guys about high profile guys during the draft. That's what you do. You're the general manager. So I don't find this to be breaking news or interesting or anything like that a certain team offered a second round pick, which by the way is laughable, for George Kittle, who's one of the greatest tight ends and may go down as the greatest tight end of all time and is only 30, I think he just turned 31, but he's fine. I think he's in the prime of his career still. There's no way that a second round pick is worth George Kittle. But my point in saying this is that this same insider that tried to refute George Kittle by his own words, saying that your sources are wrong, and then she still sat there and said, nope, my sources are right. I'm the source. I'm George Kittle. Your sources are wrong. I'm actually signing a contract here in about 48 hours. Thank you very much. That many people knew was going to happen. It's not news that George Kittle was that somebody offered a second round pick for George Kittle. I guarantee you that somebody called and asked the Niners if a first round pick for Brock Purdy. I guarantee it. I don't know that for a fact, but I guarantee it personally that somebody during the draft called the 49ers and said, would you take, our pick right now for, like, the Giants, for example, the New York Giants. They traded up to 26 to get Jackson Dart. Who would they rather have at 26, do you think? Jackson Dart or Brock Purdy, even going with a big contract? I can save you the time, Brock Purdy. I guarantee teams called during the first round and said, we see that you haven't signed Brock Purdy. Would you like to trade him for our first round pick? No, thank you, but thanks for calling. That's the job. Like, it's just like the job when, all these people like to put out videos of guys working out. Like, I've seen Ricky Pearsall working out and all these different guys. You realize that's their job, right? Like, there's not a camera on me prepping for the show, but if I didn't prep for the show, I'd be pretty big of a dumbass. Lund just turned the camera on. Like sometimes it feels like that, and sometimes you may think that, but actually, as crazy as it sounds, is I read stuff, I talk to people, I effort, and that's what you're supposed to do. Just like whatever your job is, you're not just doing that job 9 to 5, and at 5:01 you stop, and at 8:59 you start. You're doing things constantly. That's what we all do. We're all overworked and underpaid. That's what we do, but we do it all the time. But there's no video on you or on me. It's just that's what you're expected to do. You prepare for your job. You work longer. That's just you better or you're out. So it's just I think it's funny that people think that those things don't happen. They happen constantly. Do you know that John Lynch's phone was probably ringing off the hook? Again, there were numerous teams that probably called and offered a number 1 pick for Brock Purdy. There are people in the offseason who are still calling the 49ers and saying, hey, you haven't gotten that deal done with Brock Purdy. I guarantee you teams called about Fred Warner. Hey, I see that you have a $29 million cap hit on Fred Warner. You want to move him? No, thank you. That's what GMs are supposed to do. If John Lynch wasn't constantly calling, even right now, saying, okay, our draft is over. We're probably still short up front along the defensive line. Are 2 rookies really going to start in there? Or Kevin Givens or Jordan Elliott? Probably not. Is Nick Martin really going to be standing next to Fred Warner or D. Winters? We just lost Malik Mustafa to a knee injury. You don't think that he called about a high-profile safety in this league to see that he could pry him loose for a certain draft pick? You don't think John Lynch did that? Because if he didn't, then he wasn't doing his job and he should be fired. Like, it happens constantly. So the fact that something comes out that George Kittle was some team offered a second-round pick, well, first of all, tell us the team. And secondly, it doesn't even matter because that happens constantly. I bet more than one team during the process of George Kittle, after her dumb report that came out that was completely inaccurate, you don't think teams called more than one team and offered more than a second-round pick probably for George Kittle? I guarantee it happened. So again, not breaking news. It's just a person trying to, I like, if I was her, like, you might want to leave the George Kittle situation alone because you clearly don't know anything. But picks are offered all the time, especially around the draft, obviously around the draft. And now the Niners are sitting there going, okay, because there's tons of ways to pipeline your team. And like I said, there's going to be a bunch of guys getting released because of 258 picks, I think, in the 2025 draft, maybe 175, 180, whatever, maybe less. Make teams. That means that many more players, that amount of players have to be released or traded. So now you're the Niners, and what you're doing is you're combing across teams. This is another way to pipeline into your team. There's the draft, there's free agency, there's all these different things, undrafted free agents. Okay, now you're scouring the other teams going, damn, we lost Malik Mustafa. What do we do? We gonna stick another rookie there? Probably not. Jason Pinnock or whatever? Probably not. Like, maybe, I guess, might have to. But I don't love that safety combination with J.R. Brown. So would you like to get somebody else who all of a sudden, hey, that team just drafted a safety. That guy might be available. Like, they're constantly doing that. It's constant. That's why, like I told you, if John Lynch is not in a position to win a Super Bowl or feel like he's going to win a Super Bowl, he's going to go back to TV where he can make a lot more money and spend a lot less time. This job doesn't stop. Like, when does it stop? Everybody, it's a dead time of the year. Yeah, there's times that are slower than others, but the draft is over, free agency's over, undrafted free agents you've grabbed, you've done all these things and everything. So John Lynch is probably having a pina colada in Hawaii right now. He's not. He's on the phone with guys going, hey, we need a safety. Ours tore an ACL. We didn't get a pass catching tight end out of the draft. We didn't get, they signed DJ Humphries. His numbers aren't great the last few years, but I mean, that's what I'm doing. They're constantly scouring, going, okay, we didn't draft an offensive lineman. They're still working right now. There's 100, like I said, 150, 180 guys are going to be coming into this league this year. That means that many more guys are going to be released or traded or whatever. And he's like, okay, let's get to the top of that list and see if we can't do that. So I'm sorry to go on a rant about a second round pick for George Kittle because it's not that big of a deal, but it's the fact that it's being reported and then everybody's grabbing it going, did you see that? It's constant. It's like you breathing as a human being. It's constant in the NFL. It's constant people calling. That's what you do. That's your job. That was a weird rant. What else do we have today? I have a wonderful, sweet, clean, family-friendly caboose pistol for you, by the way. So that's where we are. Episode 131. Again, thank you so much for joining us today. Much, much, much appreciated. It is a Friday edition of the show, May 2nd, 2025. Episode 131, series is 3-2. Huge, not must win, but close for the Warriors. Curry's thumb could tell all. Does Buddy start? I would go GP2 to slow down Fred VanVleet, but what do I know? Let's see. What else do we have? Slow down VanVleet. If they don't win, and it kind of goes into LeBron for me, what are they going to do in this offseason? I don't think LeBron's going to be a Laker. Nice job, Jalen Brunson, but guys like Jay Williams are saying he's the greatest Nick of all time. Stop it. Let's see. What else? April A. Tyler Rogers blows it, but I'm not down on the pen, not trading Kittle. I just went on a weird thing about that. And now we're down to the sweet, clean, family-friendly caboose pistol. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages. This is just weird. I'm not I don't judge people. You can do whatever you want, but whatever makes you happy is great. Have fun. Do you? I mean, I'm a big believer. You know this if you watch the show on with any regularity. That I'm a big proponent of the term "you do you." That goes in any way, shape, or form of your life. That is not illegal. You do you. You eat what you want. You put whatever you want on things. I'm not a ketchup guy or a pineapple guy in pizza. You do you. You like certain activities. You do certain things. You might want to jump out of a plane. You might, whatever. You do you. Like, I'm not judging. I'm not sitting here judging your life because I don't want you judging my life and digging into my thing because I'm throwing stones and into glass houses and I don't know. You do you. So then I saw this story yesterday. Man, did I do I think I have. Hold on one second. Yeah, I do have this. Here, let me share my screen with you. I was thinking I didn't have this, but I do. Just a weird. Here it is, right here. Oops, those are shoes. Get off my screen. That's another ad. Get off my screen. My God, didn't it used to? Oh my God, we just lost this whole thing. Yeah, we just lost this whole thing. All right, let me go back. It happened. So what this is it's a that worked out well. This is a seagull screeching competition in Britain. And I don't know, maybe this is just a thing. It's not new. Lots of countries participate in this whole kind of thing, and it's just weird. So let me do this. I forgot. Let me play the sweet, clean, family-friendly caboose pistol open because everybody loves that. And this is just weird. I don't know what else to tell you about this. Let's see where it is. Where is it? How do I lose the sweet, clean, family-friendly caboose pistol open? Here it is.
John Lund Unleashed presents the caboose pistol.
Wedged in the crack of her buttocks.
Somehow, someway, Lundo thinks this is the best way to leave a final impression on you for the day.
The old caboose pistol, everybody has one.
Did you say caboose pistol?
I know some women who could hide a machine gun in there.
Yeah.
Leave me out of this, you weirdo. Here's John.
No, I'm like I said, I'm fine with it. I mean, it's not for me, but what I'm saying is that you do you. If pineapple on a pizza came to the table that I was sitting at, and I'm just more of a traditional, Italian pie kind of a guy, even like margarita pizzas or pepperoni sausage or whatever. It's not that all pizza is good pizza. It's just at what levels, and I wouldn't judge you if you did. I'm just saying, it's not for me, but hey, man, if you want to do it, it's not like I'd be like, oh my God, and make some big deal of it if somebody had it at the table. I like I said, I'm a big believer in you do you. So this is the premise in the background for this, because this is just not like a weird thing where people get drunk. This is something that people actually do. It's a seagull screeching competition in Britain. Watch this.
Championship. Now it has really grown to a European championship with 14 countries. It's amazing. I'm surprised, and also about the quality. Performance worked great this time.
I'm sorry, man. You do you. It's fine. My point in bringing this up is that the guy, like the guy in the middle after the first couple of annoying screeches, says that there's 14 countries represented, and this is like a big deal. And the only thing I can think is, and I do feel bad for some other countries, because it's not that I don't like soccer, I do, but all the other countries, their main thing is just like soccer. And I guess they have, like, there might be cricket competitions and different sports like that and all that. And, we see the Olympics where different people come from different countries, but really they don't have the variety that we have. They don't have, I don't think, the entertainment options we have, at least from a sports standpoint, entertainment standpoint. We have the NFL and the NBA, and people are jealous of the NBA. I've been over to Europe and I've covered NFL games in London. I think it's being a little overblown over there. They're not as into it as maybe we think they're into it, because I've done shows from what is their ESPN, and they're kind of like, it's not that great. We don't think it's that great. But anyway, the NBA is a big deal. Baseball, basketball over the globe, the NBA is seen as so we have all these different options. And I think that maybe other countries, I don't know, do they get bored or something like that? Because the guy said, like, that screeching competition. And by the way, if we are judging that, the last girl that was really dressed like it and had the paint and everything, she was probably the best. But I guess I bring it up because of garlic fries, and that happens. And if you're at a Giants game, they all start swooping in. And so maybe they'd be very confused by ththose people, the last couple of people that were really good, and I guess they won the competition. But there are 14 countries represented in doing that. It just looks like they're drunk at a bar or something like that, like it's replacing karaoke or something like that on that certain night. Like, come in for the Seagull screeching competition on Tuesday night. On Wednesday night, we have karaoke. Thursday, it's all you can drink. Like, I don't know. That's what it looked like. It's some sort of a bar there. It was just like it was Seagull screeching night. But that guy in the middle was like, no, there's like 14 countries and hundreds of people involved, and it's a big deal. And like he said, he's like, it's growing every year. And I'm like, God, how bored must you be? And these people are coming up in like, it's almost like they go, like we do weird things when like a big movie opens, or you dress like Batman or something, and you go to the premiere or something. It's like they're all dressed up, and it's a big deal. And I'm like, wow. I mean, I don't know anything about the world. Like, I see something like that, and I'm like, what? Like, why would you ever be interested in that? And plus, the seagull screeching is annoying. Like, when they screech like that, it's annoying. Like, who would want to sit in the bar and listen to that all night? And then what do the judges do? Like, that screech is an 8.9. It didn't blow my eardrums out completely, but you know what? It was pretty darn close. And God, on the, like, what do they base it on? Like, screech level, annoyance, octave. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what it is. Octave, I'd give it a this. Screech level, I'd give it that. Annoying, I'd give it a 20 on a scale of 1 to 10. Like, I don't know. Anyway, people do stuff. I don't know what to tell you. It's weird. I don't know. They must be bored. They're all dressed up. Like, can you imagine that you'd walk in there? Like, you ever go to a Halloween party and you're just like too cool for school and you don't dress up, and everybody's dressed up? You feel kind of stupid. Like, I guess I should have dressed up. Like, you imagine just stumbling into that bar like on a Tuesday night, and everybody's dressed like seagulls and screeching. You'd think, like, did I take acid before I came out tonight? Did I take some mushrooms? How much did I smoke? I should not have eaten that hash brownie. Like, that was stupid of me. Like, this can't be happening. There's a bunch of people dressed up like seagulls screeching. What is going on? Like that? Can you imagine that? Just walking into a bar like that? Like, what? Seagull screeching night? Why is there thousands of people in here? Anyway, there you go. That's your sweet, clean, family-friendly caboose pistol. I hope you enjoyed it. I saw that. Oh, you did? You saw this? This was a thing? I've never seen it before. Never seen it before. That's a great call right there. That now that this has become public, and believe me, the Giants are watching this broadcast as we speak. Watch there be a seagull screeching competition, like something like that. And there'll be fries, and they'll somehow market the garlic fries around it. I mean, I bet you're 100% right. That's going to happen. Yeah, I mean, the last woman was like, she was dressed up like big time. Like, she had the paint, she had the whole thing. So anyway, there you go. There's a competition for everything. Exactly. Like, who would have known? Like, I guess if I dug a little bit deeper, I mean, we could find a bunch of stuff on that kind of stuff. But anyway, weird. Just weird. All right. Anything else today? Rico, I did not see you earlier. Thank you for joining the show. We appreciate it. The 1-420. I don't know if I saw you. Rockin', did I say hello and good morning to you on a Friday? Great stuff. So here's what we're going to do today. So make sure your alerts are on, first and foremost. Make sure your alerts are on today at John Lund Unleashed on YouTube and the Bay Area Sports Collective. Thank you this morning for watching on X and Instagram. That is at John Lund Radio, or any other kind of platform that you're watching on. But please come over to YouTube, because what I want you to do is go get those alerts on. So make sure you subscribe, get those alerts on, hit the like right now. But everything is dependent on my wife's health. It's her birthday today, so I have a reservation to take her out to dinner if she's feeling well. If she is not, then we'll do bottom of the pint with Krug, and we'll probably combine that into some sort of a Warriors post-game show. So the Krug show and my show. So make sure you're subscribed to Larry as well, and we will keep you up to date on what's going on today. But it is, like I said, out of my hands and dependent on my wife's health because it's her birthday today. So I have to make sure that we take care of that business. I can't screw that up. You know how that goes. You can only keep your head above water on, like Valentine's Day, anniversaries, birthdays. You have to keep your head above water on those days. You don't get any special things for like doing it, right. You're supposed to do that. So I can't make sure that I got to make sure I don't screw that up. So we can't have a problem there. So I will let you know as soon as I know on that. So John Lund Unleashed on YouTube, and keep your alerts on, or I'll let you know what is going on the rest of the day. If not, then I'll talk to you tomorrow at 10 a.m. on a Saturday edition of the show. I have a feeling, though, that we'll at least do Warriors post-game show, and we may do bottom of the pint, again, dependent on how my wife is feeling today. Thanks to Danny for the super today. Good morning, good morning, good morning, and thank you, Danny. We appreciate it. Good to see you from the Valley of the Sun. Everybody. Oh, by the way, let me do one thing. Don't jump out of here quite yet. Let me do one thing. I made a new QR code right there. If you click on that QR code right there, that is my good friend. And I saw him yesterday. We hung out yesterday, actually. Dr. Jeffrey 𝐟𝐸𝐵𝐿. Dr. 𝐟𝐸𝐵𝐿 and the 𝐟𝐸𝐵𝐿 Sports Medicine Group. If you click on that right there, that QR code right there, it'll take you straight to the website. And I've told you many, many times, speaking to my wife, she is feeling great with the stem cell treatment that she's having. Shoulder, elbow. Honestly, I'm not kidding you. I hardly ever see her ice anymore, and it was constant. I'd walk over to the couch, and she'd have like 3 contraptions on her. I told you we have a freezer in the garage. It's got all our stuff in it and everything like that. I very rarely see her ice anymore. She had stem cell treatment on the shoulder and the elbow. I told you also we were in Las Vegas last weekend. We were walking all around, and she just flat out said it to me. I couldn't be walking around without Dr. 𝐟𝐸𝐿 right now. It's awesome. So click on there, right there, and he does amazing stem cell treatments, and you're going to be feeling better in no time. He has helped me out with low T, like yesterday, where I just take a quick blood test. It tells me exactly where my testosterone levels are. He gives me that exact amount. We do it every just like 4 months. I feel great. I'm in better shape, better mood. Metabolism is faster. All those kind of things. You're feeling like yourself again. And it is quick, easy, and you only have to do that a few times a year. And that is Dr. 𝐟𝐸𝐵𝐿. In the past, I've done those stem cell treatments, and you have to do them weekly. It's a major pain. So it is such a great thing. And Dr. 𝐟𝐸𝐿 is doing that. Plus, there's all sorts of other procedures that Dr. 𝐟𝐸𝐿 and the gang do with 𝐟𝐸𝐿 and 𝐟𝐸𝐿 Sports Medicine. So make sure that you check them out right there. So if you click on that QR code, you can check them out on Google as well. All you have to do is look up Dr. Jeffrey 𝐟𝐸𝐿 in San Ramon. But if you click on that QR code, it makes it really easy, and all you got to do is make that appointment today, and you're going to be feeling great. So whether it's low T, whether it's stem cell treatments, or any of the other procedures that they do, and there's a ton of them, check out Dr. Jeffrey 𝐟𝐸𝐿 in San Ramon. 𝐟𝐸𝐿 Sports Medicine, fine sponsor of the program. So there you go. Love Dr. 𝐟𝐸𝐿. Just loved. We talked. All we did was talk sports yesterday. He's like, doing stuff, and I'm just like, and he's like, God, this guy just talks all the time. All right, I think that's it. Oh, that's a great call right there. Yeah, you could. Stem cell, baby. In fact, I'm gonna text him right now. Be like, can you please help Steph Curry's thumb? Because I'd feel really confident about the Warriors tonight, but I don't know. I'm telling you right now, he will help your knee. I'm not even kidding. I'm not kidding at all. My wife constantly putting ice and all sorts of stuff on there, all these devices, all these weird things. It's great. All right, everybody, have a great rest of your Friday. Thank you for tuning in today. It is always great to see everybody on a Friday edition of the show. I'm sorry that I have to kind of leave you in the lurch and say I might do this and I might do that. But again, you can't screw up birthdays. So I'll let you know what's going on today. All you got to do is make sure you're subscribed to John Lund Unleashed on YouTube, and then have those alerts on, and we will let you know when we will be available next. Maybe we're going to do bottom of the pint tonight. Maybe we're going to do Warriors post game. And I'll certainly be back at 10 a.m. on the Saturday edition of the show. Everybody have a great rest of your Friday. And as Dom lets us know, Paulie and Tony are on at high noon and a merch drop today. Very, very cool. So make sure that you are subscribed to Bay Area Sports Collective, and you can see Paulie and Tony and Paulie Max Particles at noon. Everybody have a great rest of your Friday.
Thanks for hanging out with John Lund Unleashed. We'll try to be better next time, though I wouldn't hold my breath. Please like and subscribe on the John Lund Unleashed Pod YouTube channel. Watch live shows weekdays at 8 a.m. on YouTube, Instagram, and X. And make sure to have your alerts on for shows throughout the day or night. All things Lund can be found at johnlundunleashed.com. johnlundunleashed.com.
Goodbye!